post this full moon in Aries. The moon's currently in Taurus, getting ready to transit into Gemini. But I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I slept all day yesterday. I felt like I was hungover. My body could barely move, and I don't drink alcohol anymore, so I know what it feels like to be hungover, and I definitely know that I felt like I was getting wrung out, right? At the same time, just really also excited with ideas that Aries has me feeling, excited about the future, and not only anticipatory, but wanting to take action, right? Even though while there's things that still needed to fall away, obviously, there was still things within my body that were still processing and still detoxing. So yeah, it was really having me hunker down and say, okay, there's a lot to do. There's a lot that wants to be done and needs to be done, but you need to take care of yourself. And so in this taking care of myself, I don't know about you, if you guys can relate, but I used to be a workaholic so that I wouldn't have to settle down and sit down and think about things, right? If I was working and getting things accomplished, then I didn't have to sit and think about the bigger things or things that I didn't want to think about. Well, yesterday was one of those days I had to hunker down and think about things that I didn't want to think about. And of course, we're approaching Scorpio season, which is all about death, transformation, destruction, but also rebirth. I was born a Scorpio with my moon in Scorpio, which is the moon is how I feel, and Mercury, what I think about Scorpio. So I've been asking the big questions about death and, what happens when we die, and what is this death thing, and why do we suffer? I mean, from a very young age, which is what led me partially to become an astrologer, and partly led me to become a bartender, because I just wanted to, when you're bartending and people drink, you could pretty much discuss everything. Well, besides religion and politics. But for the most part, the bar is such an open forum for people to discuss their most in-depth and philosophical, expressions, which is always fascinating to me, right? And it also drove me again to ask the bigger questions to thousands and thousands of people. I was in hospitality for 25 plus years, so always having these conversations about death and what do we do when we die, and if we have just this in one life, then what's it about? Or is there reincarnation, and did we do shit before that we were making up for in the terms of karma, right? So I've always been asking and questioning the public and myself about these realms, about these ways of being, right? The more to it than just this life. And so I don't know about you guys, but in the wake of everything we all just experienced, and we continue to experience, and not just those of us in the United States that are experiencing these horrendous floods, and with Saturn and Pisces, we know that it's not going to stop, right? We've got the sky, the planets are showing us the remembrance that there's transfigurations that are happening via water, via the ocean. And so our ancestors tell us about these changes, and they show us through the transits, through astrology. And so, the Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It represents the finality of this life itself. So as we're approaching Scorpio season, which is death, right? It's the mechanism in which we go back into our eternal selves. That's very Scorpionic, which is also very water. So we're being faced and questioned, and again, for a lot of us, this sparked the curiosity about life beyond this realm in 2020, when a lot of us were faced with, seeing and witnessing a lot of our friends and family transitioning and dying and experiencing that. And so we had to stop and go, wait a minute, what the hell's happening here, right? We were on this hamster wheel for so long and distracted about asking these bigger questions that when we were forced to stop, right, it's almost like, okay, wait a minute, there's got to be other things beyond this realm. And so post full moon in Aries, which Aries signifies new beginnings and the mind of the child, right? If this is the time of dissolving and dissolving old beliefs, things that we've learned that were not true, that we're discovering more and more day by day, moment by moment, that what we were taught was not necessarily the truth, and how we were conditioned to think was not necessarily for our best interest, but for the best interest of those in the ruling who have been governing us, right? That we've allowed to govern us, and that we have voted and put in positions of power over us in hopes to, be governed and led and ruled by those that we held in integrity, that we trusted. And at the final degrees points of Capricorn and Pluto, 29 degrees going into, it's moving forward now, we're starting to see how those systems have become corrupt, like a corrupt file or a corrupt operating system, right? So we're seeing that at one point it did serve the public in that mechanism, but now things have shifted, things have changed, we've evolved. And so these old mechanisms, these old governing systems that we enacted, back when the first time when Pluto was in Capricorn 248 years ago, it's being brought up to be brought up again to see, okay, what corrupted file in this operating system needs to be replaced? How does it need to be shifted? What needs to be alchemized? Because in these realms, that's how we change things, right? The matter, the mother, the physical realm is done through alchemy, which is very much Scorpio. But we needed to see first really clearly what needed to be alchemized. And so in this dissolution of truth, through Pisces, through Saturn, we needed to see the structures that were just outright false or corrupt or corroded. And so with all that, it's like, okay, these things are changing. These things are changing within myself. These structures outside of me, literally buildings. I mean, every job I've ever worked at, guys, was affected. If the job itself wasn't gone, the building is gone. I worked in hospitality for 25 plus years, all up and down the coast of Florida. And every job, every building was affected, and including in North Carolina. When I moved from Florida, back when the Gulf oil spill hit in 2010, I moved to North Carolina and Chimney Rock, and that area is gone. So this has been a very surreal time for me. That it's hard to explain. To go, wait a minute, every place I've ever worked, it's gone. Like, WTF, man? What, right? So already kind of coming into this realm, asking the bigger questions and facing, death on many levels, or transformation now, because I don't believe in death the way, years and years of study and leaning into it and facing my own immortality, I realized I have a different relationship with death. And I don't see it as this finality thing that we have to be scared of. And it's been years and years and years of deep diving and doing my own research and doing my own ceremonies and meditating on it and dying 1,000 deaths in this body to realize that death is not what we think. And it's just the constant change. It's the change that never changes is what we are part of. And if we can really wrap not only our minds around it, but our hearts around it, and lean in with trust that there are other things besides what we can see with our physical eyes, that we can sense with our physical senses. They talked about the sixth sense, right? The senses beyond the realms. But there are other senses beyond the sixth sense. 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 12. I mean, we go into, there's 12 zodiacal wheels, right? 12 zodiacal aspects, and so maybe those are the senses that are corresponding, that are still very deeply unknown, plus the magical 13th with Ophiuchus, right? And there has to be a correspondence, there has to be a 14th zodiacal constellation if we keep expanding and going outside of the wheels that we know, even astrologically. Even those concepts sometimes have to die, right? There's certain things that have to die within us so that we can have a different reality, that we're changed. It's just change. I'm really understanding now what the concept, just through deep contemplation about how energy really never is created. You can't just pull energy out of thin air. Energy's already existing. That's all there is. But you can take that energy form, and through alchemy, you can metamorphosize it, and through chemistry, you can change it into something else, which is what nature does naturally. She's been doing it since the beginning of whenever that was, if there was a beginning. And so that's what we're learning to be masters of, especially in Scorpio season, as we're learning through the season of Libra to balance out our hemispheres, to balance out our relationships with ourselves and with those that are around us. And now through Scorpio season, we're being asked to do the deep work, which is to going into the hidden realms, or the unmet aspect of ourselves, which is just the shadow. And I like to call it the golden shadow, because there's also gifts there. It's not just like the hideous things we don't want to see and like, oh, our shadow self. You know, there's actually probably tools and structures and untapped DNA and unmet or unturned on DNA, because it wasn't time. Right? Astrology teaches it's all about timing. And so it's the time for certain things to be activated within us, and we can do it consciously, or with more consciousness than we've ever done before, because there's more light on this planet. All these solar flares that are bombarding the planet is bringing in information. And that's what light truly is. It's information. And the more that you've cleansed your body, the more you've made room for it. It's like defragging your own system, so that you can comprehend and get full clear the downloads, the new programs. You know, our brains are just radio receivers, guys. Do your own research about your own radio waves, your own brain waves, how it works and how it operates, your own operating system. It's pretty profound and deep how our operating systems run, and we weren't necessarily educated. So we either through our own seeking and deciding to lift off whatever program reality this was, and I've done that since back in 2018, it's been a different reality for me that I've been living in. And all I'm being called to do is to share what I've learned along the way, what has been truthful to me, what works for me in my own vessel, because I've been on the search and on the path of health, and reclaiming my health, and knowing what it's like to be truly a vibrant, living, harmonious, balanced human being. What does that really look like? You know, what does it feel like in my nervous system and in my body to truly be that, to embody that? Well, there's been a lot of defragging. There's been a lot of programs that had to be deconstructed within me. A lot of masks that had to come off. A lot of, like I said, lives that had to leave, karmic cycles within myself that I chose by default, because that's what I was born into, and I chose that. But I came here to also dissolve all that and restructure all that and alchemize that and create a different reality timeline for me, my reality, my ancestors, you know, my family, 7 generations forward, 7 generations back. And so that's been the work that I've been doing since it's been a series of awakenings. But when my son was born was really a big wake up for me, because I did not want to repeat the patterns, and I did not want my son to inherit certain genetic patterns or genomes within my family and lineage, meaning alcoholism and addiction and anger. And so yeah, it's been a journey, and that's why I've been single on purpose as well during this time. This is not for the weak-hearted. Consciousness is not for the weak-hearted. Being in the awakening process, I can't say that I'm fully awoke, because when I think I'm awake, you know, it's just another series of awakenings that I go, what? You know, it just, anyway, I'm really choosing my language as I continue to consciously awaken and purposely pursue this path of truth, of what is truth, what is true truth, and being willing to let what I thought up until even right now, when you're seeing this right now, to let all of it go. Because there is with Mercury right now, what we're thinking about is very much in Scorpio. We're all doing the deep dive. But we also have Venus right now, which is in Sagittarius, which is giving this optimistic viewpoint, right? Which is giving us this, okay, we can see the truth and see what's been hidden, but what are we going to do with it? How are we going to use this as medicine? Take this pain, don't waste it, alchemize it, use it, just energy. right? Take the pain, alchemize it, and turn it into health, healing. Reactivate that DNA within you that knows how to do this. The patterns within you, right? The blueprints are within you. You can never be destroyed. It's just we hid it within ourselves. And our ancestors have been trying to tell us that, you know, and if you guys ever studied like the pyramids and ancient things and, you know, go on these ancient sites and these, because that's what it is. They're codes of remembrance that our ancestors have been leaving us. We've been leaving for ourselves because this thing is always changing. There's always going to be events that are going to shift us and move us and transform us. Very much Scorpio, very much Pluto. It never stops. So you're being asked right now to really step into what are you here to do? What is your purpose? Going back to the bigger question. If we all, and I know it may be uncomfortable, and again, if you guys don't want to talk about this, please, I understand. But this is going to be a heavy question that I'm going to ask, but I'm asking this for myself, so I'm just doing it out loud. If we know we're dying, I mean, that's part of life. If we're living, that means in this realm, we've also come to choose to experience death. If you know that's on the horizon at some point, and there's no guarantee now, we know irrefutably, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we have no choice in the matter when that happens. In our conscious awareness right now. We've chosen that. What will you do right now, knowing that all of us are going to transition and die and pass away? Are you still going to live the life that you've been living up into this now moment? For the same reasons, with the same people, at the same job, in the same city, in the same? Or are you willing to stop, drop, and roll and go, wait a minute, I'm going to stop and think about this and really drop into my heart and roll into what the next now moment is asking of me, which is life is asking a new version of you. Life is asking for the transformed version for you to step up and step out. We have all been irrevocably shifted. I'm here in the United States in the Northern Hemisphere, but these shifts are happening all over the world, not just in the United States. I mean, I'm looking right now and I'm seeing pictures of Paris, France, right? And which has happened in Acapulco or Mexico, right? I mean, this Saturn and Pisces is affecting the whole world. This is a global effect from these planetary energies that are shaping us and shifting us out of the same old. And then as we're moving into Scorpio with Mercury, how we think has to change. But that optimistic Venus and Sagittarius is giving us the opportunity to magnetize and to focus on what you love. Now that everything else has been dissolved away, now that you're facing what most people don't like to face within themselves, is the thought of death and transition. If you know this is it, no matter what your belief system is, no matter what your religion, no matter what, I'm not asking that. I'm just saying if you know irrefutably right now, I'm not asking you to look at the afterlife. I'm asking you to look at this life. If you know it's finite, which it is, and you only have a certain amount of time left, Saturn, how do you want to spend it, Venus? What is your spending habits on? Your time is precious. It's the most precious thing you have. And so you're being asked to really go in during this inward journey. And in 2 weeks, when we have this new moon in Scorpio, it's going to be take action, because we all know how this ends. And this is a finite journey. So if you have not been in purpose or on your purpose, or in a space where you know that you could be happier for yourself and other people, then I would encourage you to go and get on that path, whatever it is. We've all been shaken out, and all of us are uncertain now. There is no certainty. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Man, too much security is a mind killer. It's a time killer. I've noticed that. You can't be too secure. You can't be too comfortable, because that'll actually kill your creativity, and it'll stifle you, become inert, right? And that comfort becomes your prison. So we've all been unprisoned right now, in a way, metaphorically. So this is an opportunity, if you choose to see it that way, to do something different, to follow your passion, your desires, Scorpio. What have you always really, truly wanted to do in this world, but you were scared to do it? Or you were judging yourself, or were worried about the judgments of others in doing that, in following that passion. right? This is what's being called to right now with Pluto, the planet of the transformer, going into Aquarius. Your authentic self. Be different. You can't do the same old, same old. That's been there, done that. This is the time to be different, to be in your creative life force energy, Mars and Cancer. That will bring you security. The more action you take on being your authentic self and being in your true nature, right? That's the more secure you are. Then that's Cancer is going to initiate a new way of not only surviving but thriving that you may never have considered because you were too busy surviving and worried about what other people thought about you. So, yeah, this is just a question to ask while we're all in this deeply rattled, shape-shifting time. I mean, I have no idea, man. I'm getting ready to get on the road again. I just made the decision today. I'm like, yeah, I really want to get an RV. You know, I've been hemming and hawing about the nomadic life, staying with friends and family, and that's been great. But I want my own ride. I want my own thing. And I've been scared. I've been scared of the responsibility and wonder the what ifs. But, you know, I'm done with that. So I have no idea how I'm going to afford it. I have no idea how it's going to... I just made the decision today, like, you know what? This is something I've really wanted. I'm going to allow myself, and I'm going to take action and go make it happen. And again, I have no idea with the money or how that's going to, I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to play with this manifestation thing and just act like it already is a thing, that there is an RV, there is a Sprinter van, actually a Sprinter van that's got my name on it. So yeah, we'll see how that works. So anyway, what decisions are you making today that you've just decided, you know what, I've been hemming and hawing about this, about wanting to do this or create this or go there or whatever the case may be. Can you today make that choice and say, you know what, F it, I'm going to do it. What's holding me back other than my own fear? Now's the time to be courageous, especially while we've got Venus and Sagittarius, which is giving us that optimistic, like, energy to do it, to push past our, you know, don't overthink it, Scorpio, do the best you can. This is our Mercury in Scorpio, you know, penetrate and really get deep and just really allow yourself to go, okay, well, if this is it, shit, what am I doing here? You know, if I know that this is the last 4 years, say we're in a school, and it's graduate school, you got 4 years to complete this class. I'm just doing an abstract number, but there's so much shit going on, who knows? There's no guarantees, definitely, between comets and solar flares and things out of our control, right? There's no control of this thing. So really, our point of power is moment by moment. Live in the now. The past, you already went there. You already been there, done that. So when you go to the past, you're just reminiscing and you're wasting your time, life force, energy. Same with going too much in the future, man. You haven't done that yet. The future will be based on what you do right now. So put Pluto putting in your point of power, which is right now. So in this now, while and I don't know about you, but it seems like the sun's even more vibrant. Like the colors are more vibrant, things are more vibrant. I guess when you face death and you go through a traumatic experience, it's one of the, like, I don't know, side effects or things like, oh, you just have so much more gratitude for life. You're like, shit. Anyway, thank you guys for letting me rant and just to express what I'm feeling while these energies are mutating and morphing and transmuting and transversing through me and the collective and the plasma body and this holographic universe that we've chosen to play in together. And let's just decide to have a better experience of it right now, right now, right now. There's no other time like the present. This is it. This is what we got right now. Thank you guys for playing. Thank you for hanging out. And I'm curious to see what shifts within you is now that you're choosing to really live your life, knowing that how this all ends. And it will end. This realm will end one way or another. So what we choose to do between now and that moment, that's what we're here for. That's what I'm here for. What are you here for? It's cool to ask these questions. All right, guys. I love you. Mwah. Much love.